Sandra from Asexualise.com and author of Asexual Perspectives out on Amazon. Welcome to day 6 in the heterosexual dating series. So, what were the red flags when I was dating the heterosexual guy? Well, as you may or may not know, I was dating a heterosexual guy for almost 2 months, shy of a couple of days. I said in my Asexual Perspectives book that I would not date a heterosexual again because they always needed sex. So why did I date this guy? To cut a long story short, he said he was older. He said to me that basically he's too tired to have sex. It only lasts like 4 minutes anyway. And yeah, so that's why I kind of felt quite comfortable around him. But he did admit that he had a very sexual past. So it's kind of two contradictory things there that I needed to sort of think about. So the guy I dated, where do I start with red flags? It's not funny. I mean, I'm laughing then, but it's like, I kind of can't believe I actually kept seeing this guy, but I did, and I cared about him deeply, and I still find it hard. Even now, I'm a human being who cared about a guy, and yeah, I find it tough that I'm not seeing him anymore, even though he's no good for me. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, so when I first dated him, the first date was really not good. He was showing like two different sides to his personality. So when I first met him, he was saying about, you know, that sex is only lasts 4 minutes. He gets too tired to do that anyway. He hadn't met the right person on a dating site for like 5 years. And he wasn't, you know, he's quite picky, that's what he said. But when I met him in person, he then started saying that he had a very sexual past, but he made it sound like it was a present, that basically he goes for a meal with women and then goes to have sex with them. But couldn't get a second date. Now, had I sort of thought about it more, then I did actually think about it, and I kind of knew at the end of it why he didn't want to get a second date ever. He actually turned around and said to me that, because we was talking for ages by text message after we first met before the date. And, you know, I said, oh, it's really unusual for two people to be doing it that long. And he was like, oh yeah, but I never instigate texts. I only respond. And I'm like, why? And he said, because I don't give a shit. And I know I don't normally swear on my channel, but this is actually what he said to me. So after that, I just really didn't want to see him again or speak to him. I got so upset. And I said in the car to him, well, I can see why you never get a second date if you speak to people like that, you know. I mean, if you're not prepared to put work and effort in, then you're going to get the result of nothing, you know. If you don't give a shit about other people, they're not going to give a shit about you, are they? You know, so I was really quite peed off, but I kind of liked him in a weird way, because I get attracted to guys who are a bit different and strange, I guess, which isn't very good for me. I need to get attracted more to strange, normaler people, I think, than strange, weird people. So yeah, I kind of I could see a lot of problems and faults with the way he behaved as well. And I was never going to see him again. And then he did message about meeting up. Well, I messaged him to say that I kind of gave him a report back on himself about his behaviour, and I can see why he never gets a second date. But I kind of wanted to help him. I felt sorry for him and felt like he's not used to relationships. You know, he obviously has had a bad past from what he told me. And yeah, I felt a bit sorry for him, like I needed to help him. I did really like him. I don't know why, but I did kind of get attracted to people who need my help and people who've had a past that I think everyone needs to be given a chance, you know. I tend to see the good in everyone, which can be a good thing and not so good thing. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I did meet up with him again, and then he was much better the next time. Yeah. So, but he has behavioural problems. He comes across as a bit autistic, even though he said he's not. He's had the test for it. So must have been other people that thought that about him. So yeah, so that was kind of a huge red flag that most people would just walked away at that stage, but I didn't. So what was the other red flags? Well, he didn't want to commit to being in a relationship. He wanted to continue dating me. So I actually told him, I had a conversation with him. We sat down and had a chat about where the dating thing was going. And I said, okay, fine. If you want to date me, then how long for? Because I won't wait around forever for someone. I just don't do that. So we actually set a date for, had we been together, then we would have got into a relationship. But to be honest, it kind of made me insecure that he was we were kind of like acting like in a relationship, but we weren't. And you know, at first, like, I was still on the dating site speaking to guys. He was like doing whatever, and then eventually he said that he was exclusively dating. I said, are you dating anyone else? He's like, no. I said, like, are you exclusively dating me then? He was like, yeah. But I didn't actually say to him I was exclusively dating him, but you know, he said that to me, so I thought, this is great. But I found out that because I get a lot of guys chatting me up, and I was telling him about it. He goes, oh yeah, I got this woman in a nightclub trying to give me a Snapchat, and I'm not on Snapchat. So I said no. And you know, he didn't say that he was dating me, and he'd already told me it was exclusive dating me, so he should have told this girl in this club that, no, I'm already dating someone, but he just said no. And yeah, he said the point is I said no, but that's great. But he said no because he's not on that social media channel, I think. You know, what would have happened if she'd have suggested another way? So anyway, the point is, it was a huge red flag for me. You know, he's not telling other women he's dating me, yet he told me he's exclusively dating me. And the huge red flag before, obviously the lack of commitment as well. That's a huge red flag. Sometimes guys take longer to commit than other guys, so I kind of like understood that. But even so, it's a bit like having your cake and eating it, if you pardon the expression. And then, yeah, the hugest red flag, like, we booked to go away a weekend, separate rooms, to a Ministry of Sound Thought Park weekend. And that's where it really went very wrong. So anyway, he was kind of telling me before, over certain times, that he thinks he doesn't tick my boxes, you know, my things that I'm in, you know, look for in a guy. But I felt he ticked quite a lot of them, like 3 he didn't. So that was a little bit worrying. And then, yeah, before we went away, then he gave me an ultimatum. He came round, he was round my place and then said, oh, I never want us to be ever seen on social media together, like ever, even if we got into a relationship. Now, this is really weird, right? So I'm thinking this is just too big a red flag to ignore. And then I'm like, and then I looked at him. He's like, well, I don't have my family or close friends on my Facebook page. I have no one. I hardly post anything. I don't use it for that. I just use it for like collecting people if I meet people, you know. Random people. He's saying he speaks to random people, which is another red flag. Like, I mean, I speak to a lot of people I don't know, so I kind of like accepted that to a certain extent. And then, yeah, the social media. But what followed was not just he told me he doesn't want that. He said if I can't accept that, he would walk now. So the fact that he'd been dating me for nearly 2 months at that stage and could just walk out on me like that, it doesn't really show much affection and like really connection there, does it? But we'd already booked to go away, so I was kind of thinking maybe I felt like saying, well, if that's your attitude, go then. I was trying to understand him, so we were like messaging backwards and forwards afterwards a bit. He said, oh, it took my sister like a week and a half or 3 weeks, I think he said, to come to terms with that, because he didn't want her on his Facebook page either. Facebook profile, this personal profile I'm talking about, hasn't got a business page. And he said in the end it was to do this work. Do you really believe that? Anyway, I decided to accept it before we went away, but yeah, we went away and it was just really bad. I mean, a huge red flag on the Saturday was he said to me, I said, what advice would you give to me about yourself? If you were giving advice to me about yourself, what would it be? And he said, I tell you not to trust me because you don't know me well enough yet. And that was a huge red flag. Then he said that about the fact that other women don't like him, and he was saying what they said about him, which wasn't nice. I don't even want to say it. And yeah, that was weird. But then he was saying something like, I knew you were the girl for me when you lent me your CD. Because, because you trusted me. Oh, another red flag is like once when he was supposed to be meeting me at my place, he turned up late. And then before he went away, partly my fault actually, he said he was late, but he only worked round the corner, like 10 minutes away. He was caught in traffic, that's what he said. And I said, oh, no rush, don't worry. And then he disappeared for like 45 minutes, an hour. And I'm like, what's going on? So, he wasn't totally committed to getting here fast. But I mean, I told him not to rush. I kind of got that one. But he'd just be distracted. And it's like, I know he's got a distractible personality anyway. But I'm just like thinking, this is not good. I haven't known you, been seeing you that long. And already you're starting to not turn up on time. So that was a huge red flag for me as well. But when they said not to trust him, I mean, it's alarm bells, isn't it? And then we went to the club and he pretty much ignored, before we even got dancing together, Ministry of Sound event, he already said, oh, if we split up, we'll meet back at this point. Now, if someone's saying about splitting up when they've come with you, and that's the first thing on their mind before they even get dancing, you know what that says, don't you? It's not very good, the way they're thinking. So we were dancing, but we weren't dancing together. Like, he was pretty much ignoring me, looking over my head at the screen behind me. Like, his body language towards other women, the way he was dancing, was more towards them, not me. And he pretty much was ignoring me, not making that much eye contact with me. I felt really left out, and I was quite peed off and upset, actually. And an hour and a half into it, I decided to say something because I felt I had to. Then he wasn't happy. You know, and then he goes, oh, well, it's like running. I'd rather do it on my own dancing. So that was really bad, because we'd already discussed about dancing before, and I said that I was worried he might start dancing with other women. He's like, oh, I'll not do that. I'm going with you. Why would I do that? But I have to, you know, you have to be aware in mind that this is a heterosexual guy I'm dating. It's not an asexual guy. So, yeah. But he said, oh, we can dance together. And then he said, I said, well, we can dance together and some apart. So we already agreed on that. And then it was kind of like completely different. And then his suggestion was, like, I turn and face the screen and face him. And it was all about him. Again, like, I went back and that happened, but it's like he wasn't dancing with me. I was trying to dance with him, but it's all me instigating it. And I knew when we went to Nando's for meals, he's like, oh, I've always been taught not to eat with your mouth full. So he just wanted to sit in silence. But we've been dating for nearly 2 months. And I said, well, you talk and eat. You talk and eat. That's what you do when you socialise. I mean, we've been, like, seeing each other for nearly 2 months, going out for meals quite a bit and stuff. And it's like chatting. It's like weird, really weird behaviour. So I don't want to sit there in silence. There's loads of couples, and I was just sat in there in silence. It's no life for me. This is not meeting my needs. And what I forgot to tell you was something happened in the club, a potentially really dangerous incident with him. And not sexual, I have to say, but something else. And I don't really want to go into it on social media. But it was not very nice. Put it this way, I didn't want to get in the car with him because I was quite scared. And you know, it's a potential of what could have happened. As you know, I'd only known him 2 months, and the fact that he said don't trust him. So yeah, I was really upset. Went back to the hotel, really upset Saturday night from the dancing, because I had to keep saying, you know, I had to say something to him again. About basically, you're being excluded, you know, I want to dance with you. So, well, it's a rave, you can't dance together at a rave. Well, it's clubbing music, and I pretty much told him I can dance to anything together. There was like an R. Kelly, you know, music. So you can dance to that, right? So anyway, yeah. And then it was just like not nice for me. I didn't trust him around women in the end because I could see his body language. I mean, he might not have been dancing directly with them, but I could see where his eyes were going and where the other girls' eyes were going. And yeah, when we came back in the car, I was talking to him saying, you're not matching my, you know, you're not meeting my needs anymore and stuff. And we talked about it, and we was going to try and, he told me to give him a list of my needs and stuff so we could try and see if we could work through them. But I mean, it's like he was causing so much anxiety. It just wasn't worth it in the end, you know. There was no good that he was doing for me. I realised, you know, and I found out in the car, he told me that there was this woman, even when he was holding my hand coming out from the toilet, because that's what we agreed, instead of split up, that every time I went to the toilet, he'd come and, like, with me, and then we'd hold hands and go back up together. I mean, not in the toilet with me, way outside the toilet for me. And then, you know, he even told me there's a woman, like, had her hands all over his face. That was while I was with him, walking behind him, holding his hand. And I'm like, why don't you do something to stop her? He goes, I don't want to spoil her night. But he spoiled my night. You know, I would have rather have gone to the theme park on my own. I would have had a better time on my own, to be quite honest with you. Or with a friend who genuinely cared about me and wanted me to be there. I mean, I was pretty much instigating a lot of the conversations. I was instigating the whole affection around the park. And that's what I realised. So when I came back home, I slept loads. We were going to see each other on the Thursday. We left quite on good terms when we actually saw each other. But then, you know, I realised it was like 4 o'clock I slept to. I spoke to my mum, and I was just like, she was worried about my safety as well. And I've been with guys who weren't good for me in that way in the past. And I realised there was no advantages or benefits for me to actually see this guy, that I was a good girl for him, but he was not a good guy for me. So I basically ended it via text, listing, you know, there's no advantages or benefits, listing all the problems. I mean, he said it told me he wasn't that romantic, and I could see when I was away he wasn't romantic, but he was romantic before, you know. We were out walking in the rain back from Nando's once, and he had the umbrella, and he's like, oh, this is so romantic, and I was like, had my arm in his, and he would send me some really nice texts sometimes, some really deep ones. So, you know, I think he had some romance in him, just maybe he didn't think about it. But anyway, the point was, he pretty much treated me like a mate going around the park. He wasn't that interested in me. And it was, to me, it just felt like it was someone for him to go with, you know. Could have been anyone, really. And he also told me, in a huge red flag, that he wasn't fussy about who he dated, you know, who he went out with. And, you know, I think a guy should be really choosy. I like to be chosen. I like a guy to say, right, I want this person, this girl, because she's really nice. She's really good for me. I really respect her. I really care about her. You know, and he didn't. But, I mean, you know, I do have an asexual friend, and he's not really picky about who he dates in terms of an asexual girl, because he likes loads of asexual girls. And he's a brilliant friend, and he's, like, an awesome guy, and I care about him to bits. But as a woman, personally, as someone who is into dating and potential relationship, I like to be chosen. I like to be feeling special, you know, like this guy's really into me. He chose me over other women to be in a relationship with him. I mean, obviously he has other women friends, you know, and you kind of like want to be special. I think that's like fundamental to what a lot of women want, whether they're asexual or heterosexual. You know, I think that's quite a big thing that heterosexual women want as well. They want to be chosen. They don't just want this guy to just be saying, oh, anyone's fine. And that's not what you're saying in the very, very beginning when I first met him. You're saying he's picky. So, and then he started saying he wasn't picky. And then, like, anyway, you get the picture, don't you? He was no good for me, so I had to split. But I did like his company in a weird way, because I felt really comfortable around him physically. I got on before we went away, I got on to Thorpe Park. I got on well with the guy. I mean, we went to Breen Leisure Park, and when when we came back from there, I was like, oh, we get on really well, don't we? He's like, yeah, it goes without saying. I felt so comfortable around him. You know, I keep remembering the good times, the good things about him, when really I should be facing the truth. That whole weekend was horrible. It was quite petrifying for me. It was quite, I felt quite numb in my emotions, you know. I didn't speak to him in the car on the way back from the club. I couldn't, because I was worried about my own safety. I kept the window down. I was just like, after the incident, it was just not good. And, you know, and he was far too friendly with the staff in the hotel. I haven't even said that. You know, he knew them all by first names, and he would just talk to anyone. It's like, okay, talking to anyone, and there's kind of like talking to random people where they might think you fancy them because you're being really over friendly, you know. So it's just, the whole thing was weird. So you kind of know now why all the red flags were there, and why I had to stop seeing the guy. But I don't know why. I mean, I've got other friends. I love myself. I love spending time by myself. But it's the first person, I guess, guy I've been intimate with since 2014. Person I dated in real life. And dating online's great and fine, but it gets to a point where you actually want a physical being there. Well, I do, to like, because I'm really romantic, to, you know, to kiss, to cuddle, to stroke, to hold hands with. He took me shopping once, which was a good thing. He offered to do that. You know, he wanted to see me and spend time with me. So that was a nice thing he did. So it's a kind of really weird experience. And also something back on the car, he did say, you're going to ask me a question when we're coming back in the car. I said, what question should I ask you? He said, about if I don't want sex, you know, I don't need sex now, but what if it changes in the future? So that, again, was a huge red flag. And I actually told him all the way back in the car that I'd be better with a asexual guy, that I don't usually date heterosexual guys. I usually have a rule that I don't. And really, I need an asexual guy, you know, because then I don't have to worry about that stuff. And he said, well, really, it's no brainer for you to be with an asexual guy then, isn't it? And I said, yeah. So even before I officially split up dating with him, I was already telling him I'd be better off with an asexual guy, because I would. And it was too anxiety inducing. I don't want to be worried about a guy if he's, you know, interested in other women and, you know, not interested in me. It's just ridiculous. What's the point? He did write me a nice text back saying all the good things about me, and then saying that you've realised from yourself that that I'm no good for you. So, but it was like, thank you, kiss, 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 bye. And I'm like, I messaged him back, I'm so upset, and that was it. So he's just not speaking to me, which is fine. It's better in a way that he cuts off from me and I cut off from him. But it's like kind of really hard, because I did have some friendship there with him to a certain extent before. But I think that's the thing, isn't it? Love is completely blind. I mean, all these warning signs were there. When I was away from him before I went to the second day in the park, because I didn't even want to go in the second day in the park. I didn't really want to be with him after the incident, which was quite dangerous, potentially for me in the club. I had to go back to the hotel because he was driving me, and then, you know, I didn't really want to see him again after that. But I had the club, you know, I had the theme park book. I had to go home. He had to drive me back. So it's kind of like I had to put it all behind me and just act like we were still dating and everything. It's really difficult. So anyway, you kind of get the picture. It's really hard for me. I'm still getting over it because I'm getting over the emotional connection and upset. Especially when one of the last things he said at the last meal we had in Nando's, he said, it's been a really good experience dating with you. I've learned so much from you, which no doubt he has. And you're able to be my best friend. Well, I can't really be a best friend if he doesn't even speak to me. But I told him I couldn't see him or date him again. So there you go. But he always, you remember, he doesn't instigate text. That's what he said in the beginning. So there's no way he's ever going to text me back ever again. And I should be thankful for that. I should be thankful that he's out of my life. There's someone who's potentially dangerous for me, not to be trusted, and heterosexuals out of my life, you know, and look forward more. And I saw one of my asexual guy friends last night. It was absolutely amazing. Skyped another asexual guy friend, foreign. He's really lovely. So yeah, it was great. So I have got asexual guys in my life, and it's good. Yeah. So anyway, I'll speak to you soon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share this video with all your friends. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Please post your comments below. What is your opinion about heterosexual dating? Have you had any dating experiences that were good or bad or ugly, or you thought you'd give this person a chance to improve, you wanted to help them, but then realised they were just as much of a not very good person as you thought they were in the first place? Have you been treated atrociously by heterosexuals? Have you been ignored by them? You know, what's your opinion? Have you ever had someone telling you not to trust them? You know? What are the red flags that you've seen? Please share, because I want us to help each other, you know? We can really help each other as a community to avoid getting into so much hurt and trouble if we just share our red flags with each other. I think that's so important. So until next time, I'll see you on the next video, and take care and stay safe. Bye bye.